Hi, Accelerated Algebra. This is the problem from class on Friday, February 19th, and we got different versions of it in different classes, so I just wanted to give a sum up video to help you study for your quiz. So, we started and we know that 10 quarts is how much we have altogether, and 60% of it is water, and 40% of it is antifreeze. And then we're going to take some of that, and this is what we kind of drew in class, and drain it. But then we're going to add back in pure antifreeze. However much we drain, and we decided to kind of call that X in class, then we add X plus this piece that we have left, right, of the whatever we had before. We add X quarts of pure antifreeze. And then we want to somehow end up with something that's 50% antifreeze and 50% water. And there were two main ways that people went about this problem. Some of you thought about the antifreeze, and some of you thought about the water. So let's just do the first way of thinking about the antifreeze. So let's talk about how much antifreeze from the original you have, and then how much you're going to add, and then your final amount of antifreeze. Okay, so and this will depend on how much you drain, of course. So let's keep that in mind over here. So let's just make a guess. Let's suppose you drain 1 quart. Then how much of the original is antifreeze? Well, you now have 10 minus 1 quarts, and 40% of that is antifreeze. And then since you drained 1 quart, you're going to add 1 quart of pure antifreeze. So that's like 100% times 1, right? 1 quart of pure antifreeze. So what do you get all together? Well, this is going to be 0.4 times 9 plus 1. So 3.6 plus 1, that's going to give me 4.6 quarts of antifreeze. Now, of course, that's not what I want. What am I hoping to get? Well, if I want this final thing to be 50% antifreeze and 50% water, and we're going to have 10 quarts, well, then it's going to be 5 quarts of each. So I'm hoping that this is going to end up to be 5 quarts. So 4.6 quarts isn't so far off, but it's not quite right. So let's make another guess. Let's suppose we drain 2 quarts. Well, then how much antifreeze do we have? We have 0.4 times 10 minus 2 of the original stuff, plus 100% of 2 quarts added in for the 2 quarts we drained off, so 1.00 times 2. So that's going to be 0.4 times 8 plus 2 equals, well, 3.2 plus 2, that's going to give me 5.2 quarts of antifreeze. Now that's higher than the 5 I'm looking for. Okay, but now I can kind of start to see a pattern. So let's say X is the number of quarts I'm going to drain off. How much antifreeze am I left with in that original mixture? 40% of 10 minus the X that was drained, plus 100% of the X that we add back in. So we drain off X, we're going to put X quarts of 100% antifreeze, and we want that to be equal to 5. So we ended up with this equation, 0.4 times 10 minus X plus X equals 5. And then, of course, you can go ahead and solve that, and I don't think that's the problem. You can solve that and you get X equals 5/3, or you could write that as 1 2/3 quarts. So you're going to dump off 1 2/3 quarts of your 60-40 mixture and replace it with 1 2/3 quarts of 100% antifreeze. Okay, so that was one way of doing it. But there was at least one group that had this clever way of thinking where they just looked at the water. Instead of looking at the antifreeze, they're just looking at the water. So here's what we know. How much water do we originally have? Well, we start with 0.6, because 60% water, times 10. But then we drain X quarts of water off. So then we have 0.6 times 10 minus X quarts of water. And we want, of course, we still want 5 quarts of water in the end, just that we wanted 5 quarts of antifreeze because they're going to be 50-50. So then you can multiply this out, and then we get 6 minus 0.6x equals 5. So 0.6x equals 1, and that will get you the same thing. X equals 5/3. The amount you're going to have to drain off is 5/3 quarts. So that's kind of the way looking at the water, and maybe is a little more elegant and simple than this way I did, which was looking at the antifreeze. Okay, so I hope that helps you understand this problem, and a great way to study for the problem solving part of your quiz is just by doing problems from our old problem sets. Have a great weekend.